Good day, everyone. So, today we are diving into chapter 15, which focuses on short term scheduling. Now, you might be wondering, why is scheduling so important? Well, I want you to think about the last time you have waited too long at a restaurant or at a hospital. Well, what did you feel while waiting? That's frustration, right? Or some of us might be very impatient already. Well, that's often a scheduling problem. Okay? So today we will explore how organizations use various techniques to ensure things run smoothly. Okay? And efficiently, and of course on time. So let's get started by looking at why short-term scheduling matters so much to businesses. Let's go. So let us talk about what is in it for the company first, okay? Well, let's talk about the internal benefits of having a good scheduling. Now, I want you to focus on your screen right now. It is stated there are the 6 key advantages. The first one is effective scheduling enables faster movement of goods and services through facilities. Now, I want you to think of it like a well choreographed dance, okay? Wherein everything flows smoothly. Okay, so when you have a good scheduling, so everything, every tasks, every activities, and every events flows smoothly. Okay. The second one is it allows greater utilization of your assets and your resources. Well, you are essentially getting more like more like a bang for your buck from the equipment and people you already have. Okay, so the third one, and this is a music, or the every managers loves this, is it reduces operational costs. Okay, the fourth one, it helps maintain low setup times. Well, it means that you have less time switching between tasks, means more time that you are actually productive or more time that you are producing or giving services. And the fifth one is it minimizes work in process inventory. Now, remember from our earlier chapters how inventory ties up cash, right? Well, having a good schedule actually helps reduce that, okay? And finally, it actually maximizes facility utilization. Well, you are using your space and equipment to their fullest potential. So, but internal benefits are only half the story. So let us see how good scheduling impacts our customer or our the external of your organization. Okay? So now, here is where scheduling becomes a competitive advantage. The external benefits directly impact your customer's experience. Okay? Well, as you can see, good scheduling improves customer service in 3 main ways. The first one is that you have a faster throughput, you have added flexibility, and more dependable delivery times. Okay? So, when you can move products or services through your system faster, customers are happier, right? When you are flexible enough to accommodate changes, customers appreciate that, right? And when you consistently deliver on time, of course, then it builds trust and loyalty to your customers. Now, beyond these three benefits that I had mentioned, effective scheduling actually helps you meet customer expectations. Okay, and it enables quick adjustments to demand fluctuations. Maybe you get a sudden surge in orders, or perhaps demand drops unexpectedly. Well, good scheduling will help you adapt to those changes. And here's a real world example. Okay, so let's say the Alaska Airlines. Okay, this Alaska Airlines has been mentioned it is a case study in the reference that I have given to you. Okay, so kindly find time to read that one. So that Alaska Airlines case study, they actually used sophisticated scheduling to respond rapidly to disruptions like weather. Okay, now when a snowstorm hits Seattle, their scheduling system helps them reroute flights, reassign their crews, and keep passengers informed. So that is the benefit of having this short-term scheduling. Okay? Now that we understand why scheduling is important, let us explore the how. Okay? Meaning, let us explore and let us learn the techniques that every organization may use to have a good scheduling. So here's a practical question. If you are running a small or medium enterprise, okay, with limited resources, which scheduling technique should you use? Well, the answer, as shown on your screen right now, is a Gantt chart. And there are 4 excellent reasons why Gantt chart is very effective for scheduling. The first one is a Gantt chart is visual and easy to understand, meaning you do not need to earn a PhD degree or a master's degree in operations management just to read a Gantt chart. Okay? The second one is you can create them sorry, you can create them with basic spreadsheet, such as you may use Microsoft Excel, Google Sheets, even a well-organized piece of paper would work, okay? And the third one, they help you track progress clearly. Well, you can see at a glance which jobs are on schedule or which tasks or activity or event are on schedule or ahead or behind. Okay, so that's the beauty of having a Gantt chart, or that's the benefit of it. And the fourth one is that they do not require expensive technology. Okay, but wait, what about other techniques aside from Gantt chart? Let's proceed. So, you might be thinking, aren't there more sophisticated techniques? Well, yes, there are, such as the FCS or finite capacity scheduling and complex assignment methods. They exist. However, most of the small and medium enterprise, okay, these techniques, the FCS or the complex assignment method, they might be too expensive or they might be too complex, okay? Now, look at what we see what we see with these advanced techniques, okay? So they require sophisticated software, which can cost thousands of dollars or thousands of pesos. Okay, they also require technical expertise, meaning you need or every businesses need special trained personnel to do that. And then it also requires significant investment in both time and money as well. And of course, it is more complex management systems to implement as well as to maintain. So, while of course these techniques are powerful, okay, for many smaller businesses, the good old Gantt chart is often the best way or the best technique between effectiveness of its use and the practicality. Okay, so with that Gantt chart, let us dive deeper into how they are and where they came from. Okay, so what exactly is a Gantt chart? Now, as you noticed on your screen right now, Gantt charts are visual planning aids that is actually used in loading as well as in scheduling. And the name comes from Henry Gantt, who developed this Gantt chart technique way back in the late 1800s. And that's right, this technique has been around for over 120 years already, okay? So sometimes the old methods are the best methods because they do work. And now they are actually two types of Gantt charts, and it is important not to confuse these two types of Gantt charts. So the first one, we have the load chart, and the second one is we have the schedule chart, okay? So they look similar, but they serve different purposes. So let us start with examining this Gantt load chart. So a Gantt load chart actually shows the loading and the idle times of several departments, also even the machines or the facilities. It actually displays the relative workloads in the system, giving the managers a bird's eye view of capacity utilization. But here is why it gets really useful. It actually helps managers know what adjustments are needed. Okay, so specifically, it allows the managers to do two things. The first one, it allows managers to transfer employees from one low load machine or department to high load machine or department or centers when required or when needed. Now, if say for example, if the electronic department is sitting idle while metal works center or department is swamped with work, then what you can do as a manager is you can move across or move cross-trained workers to help them out. Okay? And the second one is it allows the managers to move jobs between work centers to balance the loads. So, for example, if one machine can handle a job what that another overloaded machine was scheduled to do, well, you can distribute the work. Okay? So this kind of flexibility is very important in manufacturing as well as in service operations. So now, let us discuss a real-world example. Okay, so we have a New Orleans washing machine manufacturer, and this is not your typical mass production operation. Okay, take note of that. They do accept special orders for machines used in unique facilities such as submarines, hospitals, or any large industrial laundries. So very interesting, right? Now, the production of each machine requires varying tasks and durations, which makes scheduling more complex. So the company wants to build a load chart for the week of March 8th, and they have selected the Gantt chart as the appropriate graphical tool. So let's look at the data that they are working with. So here's the schedule they need to visualize. Okay, we have 4 work centers. Can you focus on your screen right now? You can see there the metal works, the mechanical, the electronics, and then you can see also the painting. Now, let me walk you through what's happening in each center. Okay, let's focus on this metal works. Okay, metal works, it says job 349 is scheduled for Monday for that metal works. Okay? So the center is unavailable on Tuesday. Probably they are unavailable because they are having maintenance. And then job 350 runs Wednesday through Friday. So meaning these are the jobs that will be happening in the metalworks. Okay? Let's proceed to the mechanical. For the mechanical, the one that is scheduled is that job 349 comes in on Tuesday and Wednesday. Then job 408 will be on Thursday. Now, for electronics, these are the scheduled jobs. We have job 408 on Monday and job 349 on Thursday. And for painting, for the painting, the last one, you have job 295 that actually scheduled or runs from Monday and Tuesday. Then we have job 408 on Wednesday. And then it says that the center is unavailable for Thursday. Okay? And job 349 wraps up the week on Friday. Okay. So now, let us see on the next slide how these translates into a visual Gantt chart, building it up work center by work center. Okay? Okay, so right now, we will be plotting or we will draw the Gantt flow chart, okay? Showing the work schedule for each center through the week. So this will be our Gantt chart, okay? So our Gantt load chart, as you can see in this column, we have the centers, we have metalworks, mechanical, electronics, and the painting. So these are our work centers. And in this row, we have the days of the week. We have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Then what are we going to do is we have to input first the scheduled tasks or activities for Metalworks Center. Okay, so let's see. The first one, it says that on Monday there is a schedule for Metalworks, that job 349. So we have to use the legends here. These are the legends that we will be going to use. This is how processing looks like. This is unscheduled, and this means center not available. Okay, so let's start. For Metalworks, it says Monday there is job 349. So that's why it looks like this, meaning there's a processing of job 349 on Monday. Then center unavailable on Tuesday. So how does it look like? So we should plot this one. Okay, we should plot this one with an X inside because it says that center unavailable Tuesday. Let's go. And then the last one is that it says job 349. There is a processing of job 349 from Wednesday until Friday. So what symbol are we going to use? Then we will be using this one. Okay, so that's it. So let's now proceed to Mechanical Work Center. So for the Mechanical Work Center, these are the given. Okay, it says that there is a processing for Mechanical Work Center for job 349. So we will be using this symbol, and that will happen on Tuesday and Wednesday. Okay, and then it also says here that there is a processing on Thursday for job 408 still in Mechanical Work Center. So that's why we have that. Now what happens for Monday and Friday? So nothing is mentioned, meaning there's no schedule. Okay, so let's plot that one. So that's it. Now let's proceed to Electronics Work Center. So for Electronics Work Center, these are the given. The first one is there is a processing on Monday for job 408, and on Thursday, so let's plot that one. On Monday, job 408 for the electronics, there you go. And on Thursday, we have job 349. And the rest are unscheduled. The rest of the days, the Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday are unscheduled. So that's it. Now let's proceed to painting. So for painting, these are the given. First, there is a processing of job 295 for Monday and Tuesday. So let us plot. There you go. And then for Wednesday, there is a processing for job 408. There you go. And it says here that center is unavailable for Thursday. So if it is really stated that it's unavailable, then we have to use the symbol with an X. There you go. And another processing of job 349 on Friday. So that's it. So now, looking at our completed chart, what insights can we gather from here? Well, let me highlight 4 key observations, okay, after we have completed this Gantt chart. Now, the first one is that, as you have noticed, 4 work centers process several jobs during the week, okay? But here is where it gets interesting. Can you please check that the metalworks and the painting centers are completely loaded for the entire week, okay? Again, metalworks and painting centers are completely loaded for the entire week. And every single day, they are working on something. So these are your bottleneck resources or your constraints. Now, in contrast, the mechanical and the electronic centers have some idle time scattered during the week, right? Meaning they are underutilized. Well, we also noted that metalwork center is unavailable on Tuesday and the painting center is unavailable on Thursday. So this is actually a planned downtime. So sometimes it's because they will be having a preventive maintenance. Now these insights are valuable, but what should a manager do having this information on hand, having this completed Gantt chart? Well, let us proceed to the recommendations. So based on our analysis, here are actionable recommendations that a manager should consider. Okay, first, for the fully loaded centers, which is metalworks and painting, who always has a job to do, you need to consider contingency plans for these centers. So, meaning these centers have no slack or no buffer time at all, which means any delay could impact the entire schedule. So what are you going to do as a manager? Meaning, you have to monitor them closely. You have to consider overtime options if necessary or if needed or if required, especially before the maintenance days, okay? Before the unavailable days. And here is a strategic move. You also have to cross-train workers from other centers to help during peak times, okay? So that's what you may do. Now for the centers with idle time, wherein these are your mechanical and your electronic center, do not just let that capacity go to waste, okay? You may use those idle periods strategically for preventive maintenance, worker training, catching up on delayed work for other centers, or assisting overloaded centers if workers are cross-trained. So you might also consider allocating work from busier centers if possible, or you might schedule non-essential tasks during these periods, okay? Let's see, there are some more that we can optimize. Okay, let's proceed to the next slide. So let's talk about those days that are the center is not available because probably there is a maintenance. Now, these centers are metalworks. They are unavailable on Tuesday as well as the painting on Thursday. So you have to use this scheduled maintenance times strategically. Meaning, you have to plan major maintenance. You might be training your staff during those times that the center is unavailable, or you might be preparing for upcoming jobs, or you might catch up on administrative tasks. Okay? So, for overall schedule optimization, consider broader strategies. Okay, you try to balance workload between centers. Maybe some jobs currently assigned to metalworks could be done in mechanical. Okay, you study that. You also have to consider staggering maintenance days to allow backup support. Well, right now, if Metalworks has a breakdown on Monday, you are in trouble, right? So you have to maintain flexibility in scheduling in order to accommodate unexpected issues because problems really arise from time to time. So you have to create backup plans for critical jobs during maintenance days. And here's a big one. You have to consider implementing a cross-training program in order to increase workforce flexibility. So, cross-training is one of the most powerful tools in operations management. It actually transforms rigid, specialized workers into flexible resources. Okay? So now we have looked at load charts, but remember, I mentioned that there are two types, right? For the Gantt charts. So let us proceed with the next type of a Gantt chart. So the second type of a Gantt chart is the Gantt schedule chart, okay? It has a different purpose from the load chart that we have discussed earlier. So while the load chart actually shows capacity across multiple work centers, the schedule chart, on the other hand, shows how jobs progress over time compared to the planned schedule. Okay? So specifically, this Gantt schedule chart actually displays which jobs are ahead of time or on schedule or actually behind the schedule. So this helps every managers monitor multiple jobs simultaneously. Now instead of asking, are we using our capacity well? We will be asking, are our jobs on track? Okay? So let's have a clear example. So let's read together our example. First Printing in Winter Park, Florida wants to use a Gantt chart to show the scheduling of three orders. Okay, the jobs A, B, and C. Now, have you noticed, okay, I placed some notation here that each pair of brackets on the time axis actually denotes the estimated starting and finish times, okay? So that is your planned schedule. Now, there is also solid bars, right? These solid bars reflect the actual status or progress of the job, okay? So, let's use a pointer. Kindly focus on the pointer that I will be showing, okay? For a while. Okay. So, now we are reviewing here this chart, okay, at the end of day 5, okay, which is our review point, okay. So this is important because scheduling is not a set it and forget it activity, okay. It's not like that. You need regular review points to track progress and make adjustments. So that's it. So yeah, I'd like you also to kindly focus on this pointer. So I'd like also for you to be familiar with the symbols because we will be using these symbols when we will be creating a scheduled Gantt chart. Okay? So these symbols, meaning this one, it's the start of an activity, and then this one, if there's a line here, this is the end of the activity, and this is also the symbol for the activity is this is the symbol for the allowed scheduled activity time allowed, and this is the symbol for actual work progress. This is the symbol for non-productive or non-production time, and this is the symbol for when you actually review the progress. Okay? So that's it. Let's do it together. Also, kindly also remember our problem. So I'd like to reiterate this one, that each pair of brackets on the time axis denotes the estimated starting and finish of a job and closed within it. So also take note that the solid bars reflect the actual status or progress of the job. And also take note that we are just finishing day 5. Okay, so what are we going to do? We will be making a Gantt schedule chart. So given the activities that's stated in the problem, this is how the Gantt schedule chart looks like. Okay, so how did we do this? Okay, I'll teach you per job A, B, and C. So let's study why is the symbol of job A like this. Okay, so kindly focus on the pointer so that you will always be on board with my explanation. So activities. For job A, it says that the duration is 5 days. So as what the symbol said, you have to use this symbol to show the duration for the duration or the allowable number of days. So it's 5 days, so that's why it's one half day here and another half day for day 6. So that's equal to 1. Then you have 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's why this is how it looks like. And then another given, it says that actual work progress started day 1. So that's why you started to draw here in day 1 and completed on day 5. So since it says that it's completed, so that's why your this solid bar have been drawn up to here, up to 5. But actually, you can still extend this up to, or you can maximize, you can extend up to the end of 5. Okay, it doesn't matter. And then it says here that the scheduled time allowed is day 1 to day 6. That's why it is drawn from day 1 to day 6. Okay? So now let's proceed to job B. So for job B, let us read first what is given. For job B, it says that duration is 2 days. And then it says here that non-production time for day 1. So there's a maintenance. And then it says here that the actual work progress started in day 2 and it has been completed in day 4. And then it says here that the scheduled time allowed is day 2 to 4. So let's study the symbol. So given all these data or information, that's why we come up with here. Since it says that there is a maintenance, so that's why in here there's a maintenance, but actually you can just shade the maintenance specifically on day 1. And then it says that it started in day 2 to day 4. So that's why you started here in day 2. But actually, you can start drawing here really from the start of day 2. Okay? It doesn't matter. And then ended in day 4, and yeah, because it says here completed day 4. Okay, so that's it. Now let us proceed with job C. So for job C, these are the specifics that is given or the information. It says that duration is 5 days, and then the actual work progress actually started in day 3 and projected to complete day 7. Okay, so just a projection. And then, no, projected meaning that is the actual completion. Okay, when you do a Gantt chart, because Gantt chart is also used for forecasting results. So the scheduled time allowed given is it starts in day 3. So that's why you draw starting from here and then up to day 5. Okay, so that's why this is the symbol, or this is how it looks like. Okay, so let's check duration 5 days. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then half in day 8, half in day 3. But actually you can extend and you can really start drawing from this line. Okay, it doesn't matter. Now, why is there a dashed line here? Well, this is the symbol for the review point, meaning as a project manager, you check the Gantt chart on day 5. Okay, so that's it. So these are the insights that we have these are the insights that we have after we have drawn the Gantt schedule chart. Okay, this is very important for you as a manager to analyze your Gantt schedule chart. So what can we analyze from here, from the drawing? So we can analyze that job A is ahead of schedule. Why is that? Because the schedule or the allowable time is until day 6, but as you can see, it's already finished on day 5. Okay, and then job B was completed right on schedule and then completed after equipment maintenance. So as you can see, it's very good for job C because it just completed right on schedule, because the schedule is from day 2 to day 4 and it really finished its job or tasks on day 4. So very good. And then we can also analyze from here that job C finished ahead of schedule. Okay, because the schedule is from day 3 to day 8, but it has finished already in day 7. So that's it. So based on what we have discussed, we can actually create a strategic recommendation as a manager, okay? So first, for job performance and efficiency, study how jobs A and C actually achieved ahead of schedule completion. You have to know as a manager, you have to study what did these jobs A and C do for them to be able to achieve ahead of schedule, or for them to be able to complete the tasks ahead of schedule. Now, as a manager, it is better for you to identify best practices of these jobs A and C and the methods that they have used, because they finish ahead of schedule, and that's very good. And then you consider applying these practices to future jobs. Okay, so this is actually a continuous improvement. So also, you have to analyze as a manager the successful maintenance planning for job B. So the maintenance was well planned and actually didn't affect final completion. So you have to use this as a model for future maintenance scheduling. Okay? And often, maintenance is seen as a disruption. Okay, most of the companies or some of the companies view preventive maintenance, oh, that's just a disruption to our operation. Here it was, but here it was seamlessly integrated. So for resource management, since jobs A and C are completing early, you have to reallocate those freed up resources to other projects. So you have to use the extra time for preventive maintenance. So in that way, you are being proactive instead of reactive, okay? And you also consider taking on additional jobs if you have the capacity. And you also have to maintain the effective planning, which is shown in job based maintenance approach. And there is more we can learn from this success. So let's talk about future planning improvements. Now, review your scheduling estimates. Your current schedules might be too conservative since 2 out of 3 jobs finished early. Now, you do not want to be overly aggressive, but if you are consistently finishing early, you might be leaving money on the table by not taking on more work, okay? So you have to document successful practices. You have to write them down, okay? That what made jobs A and C finish early? Was it better preparation that made them early, or they just had skilled workers, or because they have good equipment? And then how was job B's maintenance handled so effectively? So for team recognition and learning, you also have to acknowledge your teams for completing jobs ahead of schedule, for effective maintenance management, and for meeting scheduled completion times. So you have to remember that as a manager, recognition matters. It actually reinforces good behavior and builds the morale of your employees. Then you have to share successful practices across teams. Now, if one team found a better way, everyone should benefit. Okay? And finally, let's proceed. For our overall system enhancement, you have to consider implementing these successful scheduling practices as standard procedures. Do not let them be a one-time thing. Okay, you have to use this chart as a training tool for future project planning. You might show this to your new employees what good looks like. Okay, so that your future employees, oh, so this is our basis, this will be our baseline. Okay, and maintain the current level of efficiency while looking for further improvements. Okay, so success is not a destination, it is a continuous journey. So before we end, remember this, that scheduling might seem like a technical, behind the scenes operations, but it directly impacts customer satisfaction and employee morale. You have to master these fundamentals so that you will be able to be well equipped to tackle more complex scheduling challenges in your future careers or even right now in your company study. Okay? So that's it. Thank you for your attention and I'll see you on our next meeting.